All right, let's get into it. Today, we're going to try and decode something that is just so incredibly confusing for so many of us, the toxic relationship. And they can be ridiculously hard to see clearly when you're right in the middle of one. So what we're going to do is break down the signs, the feelings, and maybe most importantly, the crucial mindset shifts that can bring some real clarity. Okay, let's dive in.
And you know what? This is the absolute perfect place to start. Because this one single idea, it validates so much of the confusion, doesn't it? If you've ever looked back on a relationship and just wondered, how on earth did I get here? It's probably because the beginning was actually great. It was likely filled with attraction and attention and real intensity. It didn't start out this way.
So here's the crucial point. The real danger here isn't a big dramatic event. It's a slow burn. Toxicity is almost always this gradual process. It's a slow erosion of your sense of self, which is precisely why it's so hard to spot while it's happening. It just quietly changes the rules of the game, and in turn, it slowly changes you.
This brings us to our first major theme. What happens when your own reality starts to feel a bit shaky, a bit unstable? We're talking about those really subtle signs that start to creep in and make you question everything, especially yourself.
And it so often starts right here. One of the earliest and honestly one of the most powerful signs is this pattern of emotional inconsistency. And I'm not talking about someone just having a bad day. This is a constant, destabilizing unpredictability in how they treat you.
I mean, look at this breakdown. It's perfect. One day you feel like you are the center of their universe, completely valued. The very next day, you're ignored. And there's no real reason why. That emotional roller coaster forces you to start chasing that good feeling again, right? You end up chasing stability instead of actually building a real connection.
And that feeling of constantly being off balance, well, it's often magnified by a very specific and very damaging form of manipulation. You've probably heard this term before, but really getting what it means is absolutely key.
At its core, gaslighting is all about control. Its entire purpose is to systematically make you stop trusting yourself, your own perceptions, your own memory, even your own feelings. When someone is constantly telling you that what you saw, or what you heard, or what you felt just isn't real, you start to doubt your own mind. It's incredibly corrosive.
And in the real world, it sounds a lot like this. You hear these phrases, you're imagining things, you're just too sensitive. These aren't attempts to understand you, they're conversation enders. They're designed to shut you down and put all the blame squarely on your emotional state or your supposed faulty perception.
So let's move on, because this all builds on itself. See, control isn't always loud or aggressive. A lot of the time, it's cleverly disguised as care or concern, and that makes it even more confusing to deal with.
This side-by-side really says it all, doesn't it? Real love, it encourages you, it trusts you, it makes your world feel bigger. But control, even when it's wrapped up in the language of "I just care about you," it does the exact opposite. It shrinks your choices, it monitors what you do, and it slowly, systematically isolates you.
And that isolation, it doesn't just happen overnight. It's a process. First, you might stop telling your friends the whole story because, well, it's just too complicated to explain. Or maybe you find yourself defending your partner's behavior. Then you start to pull back. And pretty soon, they become the only person who gets it, which, of course, just makes you even more dependent on them.
And the end result of all this is a climate of fear. I mean, if you find yourself constantly rehearsing conversations in your head, trying to find the, quote, right words to avoid a bad reaction, that is a massive red flag. Honesty shouldn't feel like a high-stakes gamble. In a safe relationship, it's the bedrock.
So we have talked a lot about the behaviors, the external stuff. But let's shift gears and talk about the internal experience. What's the actual emotional weight of this? How does this dynamic feel day in and day out?
Well, it feels like this, a constant feeling of just being completely drained.
When what you really need is to feel supported.
You feel this persistent, nagging anxiety.
When what a partnership should bring you is a sense of calm. This constant state of unease is a huge sign that something is just not right.
And really, it all boils down to this, doesn't it? If your relationship feels less like a partnership and more like you're in a daily battle for emotional survival, something is deeply, deeply wrong. That's just not what love is supposed to feel like.
Okay, so you have this awareness. Now what? This brings us to our final and most empowering section.
the huge shift in perspective that takes you from just seeing the problem to actually being able to do something about it.
The big turning point, it starts right here, when you stop getting stuck in this loop, trying to figure out why they are the way they are. It's an endless, exhausting trap. It keeps all the focus on them, and it gets you nowhere.
And instead, you start asking this. This is the question that changes absolutely everything. It's not about blaming yourself, not at all. It's about agency. It gently but firmly brings the power and the focus back to you, to your boundaries and to your own well-being.
And as you start asking that powerful question, let this final distinction be your guide. Just look at the pattern here. A healthy connection is about growth, respect, and safety. A toxic one is about punishment, control, and that constant feeling of uncertainty. The contrast? Well, it's everything.
And you know, that's really the whole point of this explainer. Understanding these dynamics isn't about slapping labels on people. It's about giving yourself the clarity you deserve to make a conscious choice. Awareness is what puts the power right back in your hands.
And we'll end on this, because this is the most important takeaway of all. The real change happens the moment you decide, truly decide, that your peace, your sanity, and your happiness are non-negotiable. That single, guilt-free choice, that's where toxicity starts to lose its grip. That's where you begin to find yourself again.